It's the weirdest thing when people say, I'm investing for growth, I'm spending 20, 21% on wages, but it's going to pay me back. Let me tell you, it doesn't pay you back because we've started a business and we want to hire people and we think, yeah, this is great. I need an assistant. I need a customer service person. And what happens is you start paying that person before you pay yourself. Feed that business like it's a pot plant and it will prosper. But if you're constantly taking away from the business by taking money out, it's just simply not going to grow in the early days and you'll lose interest, lose faith, and you'll probably close it down. So today I'm going to talk about a question I get a lot from e-commerce businesses, and that is, who should I hire next? And overall, when should I be hiring and how much should I spend? Coming off the back of that is, what does a typical e-commerce org chart or organizational structure look like? And that's the thing about e-commerce, is we're all just growing. So every day we're kind of learning something new and you don't know what you don't know. So we actually don't always know who to hire next, or what are other businesses spending on their marketing manager, or how many staff do I need? When do I pay myself? Do I pay myself last or first? And so we're going to go into that on today's episode and just break down some of the learnings that I've had over the years and give a few pointers on how much to spend overall and when to hire that next person. All right, so let's get into it. How much should we spend on wages? So the first thing to remember is wages is likely to be in your top 2 or 3 business expenditures. I say in the top 2 usually when it comes to operational expenses. Marketing and wages is typically 1 and 2. Stock is probably the biggest, but stock comes elsewhere. That's a purchase. So I'm just talking about operational expenses that hit your profit and loss statement. Purchasing stock doesn't hit your profit and loss statement necessarily. That's an asset. Talk about that in a later time. How much to spend? Look, the leanest business that I've worked with spends around 6 to 7% of its monthly revenue on staff. As a result of these efficiencies in that business, we were turning over about $4 million a month, but profiting 35%, net profit 35%. So we had our marketing down at 11%. We had our wages down at 6 or 7%. And so that's a very lean result. There are businesses out there like JB Hi-Fi that actually run their whole business on 6 or 7%, including rent, including marketing, including wages. Realistically, if you're listening to this, don't worry, that's not going to be you. That's pretty well impossible for most businesses. Nonetheless, most businesses that come to me are looking to improve profitability and they're overspending on wages. It's as simple as that. So where should you sit? Look, I want to see the brands that I work with spend no more than kind of 10 or 11% on wages. So by 10 or 11%, I mean 10 or 11% of their monthly sales. So if you're turning over 100,000, you want to be spending 10, 11,000 on wages. And a business turning over 100,000 really doesn't need any staff. Like one person plus a couple of casuals should be able to get you to 100,000 a month. That's a sign. If you're trying to get to 100,000 and you're 50, 60,000 a month on wages and you got 5 or 6 staff, you're overstaffed and probably underprocessed. If you're sitting on around over 16, 17% of your monthly sales ex-tax, by the way, sales ex-tax, 16 to 17%, you're too high. You're in the high zone. And I'm benchmarking, this is not my opinion, I'm benchmarking this based on other companies and what I know you can achieve in a typical e-commerce business. If you're under 10%, you're in the very good category. You're in the very, very good category. Recently, we saw a Satire, the Australian marketplace, who was running extremely lean on wages. It can be done despite what people say. So I want to see brands aim for around, my 50, 30, 20 rule, which is, 50% gross profit minimum, 30% of your monthly sales being spent on running your business, your operating expense ratio, and then that leaves you with a 20% net profit. So you know that if I'm saying you should be around 30% each month on your operating expenses, wages needs to come in around the 10% mark. 10 to 12% is pretty good. Now, I'm always looking for the low-hanging fruit. Where do I zero in on a business? Where should we focus? What I'm looking for is where we're over-indexing. So if we're over, 23, 24, 25% on marketing, we probably need to zero in on that. If we're at 15, 16, 17, 18% on wages, we need to zero in on that. So quite simply, what I'm trying to do is find the areas that will make the biggest impact on profitability in the shortest amount of time. And wages at 15, 16, 17, 18%, you need to zero in on that. Well, that's the other thing people say a lot is, but I'm investing in growth. Well, that's the worst thing a business could say to me is that I'm investing for growth. That's code for I'm blowing heaps of money. What about investing for growth? I'm investing for growth. I've heard that so many times and it's such a furphy. It's like, it's the weirdest thing when people say, I'm investing for growth. I'm spending 20, 21% on wages, but it's going to pay me back. Let me tell you, it doesn't pay you back. You know, hiring somebody and expecting that you'll pay them $100,000 a year and they'll pay you back $500,000 a year, maybe unless they're a sales rep, it just doesn't happen. So my idea on this is not putting the cart before the horse and saying, well, what I'm going to do is eventually I'm going to get my wage ratio down to 10%, but at the moment it's 15, but then I'll let revenue grow and it'll come down to 10. That doesn't happen because what happens is you get to 15%, as your revenue grows, your staff will get really busy and stressed and they want more and you're ahead of the curve. You're always playing catch up. And so what you need to do is go the other way. So if you've set your bar at 10% of monthly sales going into wages, what you want to do is you only want to hire when that ratio gets so good that it's 9 or 8%. And it's just a little bit of stress, a little bit of bursting at the seams. So what you want to do is you want to be kind of at that, let's say 10% of sales mark for wages, and then your revenue grows a little bit. And so, of course, your ratio on wages comes down to 9 or 8. You feel a little bit of stress and then you hire. What that's going to do, that's how you run your budget. What that's going to do is going to make sure that if you target a 20, 25% net profit, you're going to get there or better. But if you're constantly over and hoping to come down, one, that usually doesn't come down. You usually stay at that mark or get worse. And two, you're not going to hit your yearly targets. And you've got to hit your yearly target. So a little bit of stress before you hire, one. And second is process over people. If you're finding that your business is always under stress and you can't seem to get past 15 to 16% of your monthly revenue into wages, you've got some broken processes. You're too people heavy. And it's, in today's day and age, there's no excuse for that. There's a lot of systems out there that can really cut down labor, and you've got to find profit where you can. So, people over process is definitely a big learning for me. All right, so when should I hire? That's a good question. So if you're a startup business, we often make two mistakes really, right? So we're startup and we hire people because we started a business and we want to hire people and we think, yeah, this is great. I need an assistant. I need a customer service person. And what happens is you start paying that person before you pay yourself. Now, that's wrong. Now, what I want to encourage is hustle. Firstly, don't quit your day job before you need to, because why would you? If you've got a job that pays you well and you can start your side hustle and put some more money back into that side hustle without having to take it out for yourself, that's great. You've got to feed that business like it's a pot plant and it will prosper. But if you're constantly taking away from the business by taking money out, it's just simply not going to grow in the early days and you'll lose interest, lose faith, and you'll probably close it down. So don't quit your day job too quickly and don't hire too quickly. You can get to $100,000 a month by yourself. Okay, someone helping here and there, packing orders, but I'm telling you, in my course, I see it all the time. You can get to $100,000 in sales a month with no full-time employees. Starts now. It starts on day one. Be lean. Now, when your business starts to grow a little bit, the temptation again is to say, well, I'm too busy for that, or I'm too busy for that. Business is hard. It's supposed to be hard at the start. You've got to grind a little bit and wear a few different hats. Don't cut corners. Do as much as you can by yourself and delay that hiring again until you're feeling a little bit of pressure. Business is not supposed to be super easy. It's not supposed to be hire somebody else and they'll do it for you. All of that can come with scale. So when should you hire? Well, one, when you're under your budget for wages, when you've thrown process at a problem, and when the process still needs a person. In other words, I've got a good process in place for this system. I'm maximizing efficiency, but I still need someone, and my wage budget of 10, 12, 13, whatever it is percent can afford it. That's when you pull the trigger on your first hire. You don't pull the trigger on your first hire, second hire, third hire, fourth hire when somebody else tells you to. I've got a staff member saying, I'm really busy, we're super busy, I need an assistant. Let me tell you something, when your business starts to grow, all your staff start putting their hand up saying how busy they are and that they need a helper, that they need someone extra. Just remember when you started your business, how many hats you were wearing. Yes, you can't expect your staff to work as hard as you, but there are people out there that will work really hard, and there are processes that you can put in your e-commerce business to ensure that it's running smoothly with as much scale and efficiency as possible so that you're not stacking people on top of people. which is a huge cost that starts to weigh up. And the question about contractor versus permanent staff, look, it really depends. If you're using customer service people, I definitely tend to have permanent staff. Around me, I really want permanent staff as much as possible in roles like product design, in roles like customer service, in roles like marketing to an extent. So where contractors can come in is if you're using videographers and creatives, even branding contractors, marketing agencies like the one I found at Ecom Nation. It's okay to have contractors who are an extension of your team. Even in your warehouse, it's not uncommon for some businesses to have 20 to 30% of their labor on casual contract, and even some of them on third-party labor hire contracts that you can scale up and scale down. Really, the benefit of a contractor is the ability to scale them up and down. Often it's more expensive work, so you don't really want it full-time. But for customer service and these key roles where people need to understand the product to do a great job, I want those people around me. In the early days, particularly when you don't want to hire chief marketing officers, heads of digital, heads of operations, and so on, absolutely you might contract out. Some of your services, it's not unusual to contract out accounting. It's not unusual to contract out paid media and CRM. And it's not unusual also to contract out mentoring and business advice, like what we do at Paul Waddy Ecommerce, at Learn Ecommerce. People contract out to our team, to our coaches, and we provide assistance. So it's there's a time and a place for contractors. There's no hard and fast rule as to who your first hire should be. You know me, I'm always looking for profit. So what's going to govern me is, one, are you under budget for your wages? And two, have you thrown as much efficiency at the problem as possible, or are you being a little bit cheeky and just cutting corners by trying to throw staff at the problems? Okay, so that's it. That's hiring in a nutshell. The things to remember are startups, don't add staff too quickly. Push yourself a little bit. Don't quit your day job as well. Feed that business, feed that pot plan. For a scaling company, don't let anyone tell you, your staff, any advisors, don't let anybody tell you the staff that you need. What should govern you is the processes within your business and whether you're under budget. Because let me tell you, if you let wages creep over budget and then marketing creep over budget and then freight creep over budget, you're unprofitable. You know me, I'm geared towards helping people double their profits in 12 to 18 months. These are the things that you have to look at with absolute discipline and get used to saying no, because people want staff all the time. As a business owner, sometimes it is your job to lead and make those big decisions and say no. That's business. People generally want to take the easy route. So it's up to you sometimes to be a little bit tough and put your business under just a little bit of pressure, because there's nothing wrong with a little bit of pressure. Diamonds are made under pressure. So don't take the easy route. Be tough on your wages, be tough on your hiring, and take your time.